Hi, my name's Eric, and I'll be reading you selections from the e-edition of today's Cape Cod Times. Today's date is March 31st of 2025. It's a Monday, and we'll start with the weather, as we always do. And across the Cape and Islands today, brief shower or two, breezy and warmer with a high of 56 expected this afternoon, breezy with occasional rain and a low of 47 in the overnight. Tomorrow, Tuesday, clouds give way to sun in the afternoon, high of 51. Low of 30 in the overnight, a little chillier than it has been in the overnight. But then Wednesday, it gets back to 34 degrees in the overnight and 40 during the day. So a little chillier leading in from Tuesday into Wednesday. But Wednesday will be sunny with areas of high clouds and a little chillier, like I said. High of 40, low of 34. On Thursday, things warm up again. High of 55, low of 51. Cloudy, breezy, little rain expected. And on Friday, morning shower, mostly cloudy and warmer, high of 62 and a low of 40. The sun will rise at 6:26 a.m. today. It'll set at 7:06 p.m. We will have 12 hours and 39 minutes of daylight. Now, heading to the front of the paper, where the news and, of course, the lottery results are kept. And we read these lottery results because somebody asked for them. If there's something you would like read to people who are blind or print disabled, you can email us at info@audiblelocalledger.org or call us at 508-539-2030 and we'll consider reading it. And if you miss any of the information that we share in our readings, you can always go to audiblelocalledger.org, click on the Listen tab. It's a fully compliant, disability-compliant website. Click on the Listen tab, and you can catch up on a week's worth of any of the newspaper readings that you might have missed. You can also find a wide variety of periodicals and literature there that stay up there in perpetuity for your listening pleasure. And our shopping guides are up there on Fridays for what's on sale at the supermarket. All of this is free for people who are blind or print disabled at audiblelocalledger.org. For the latest results of the lottery, we go to masslottery.com because the Cape Cod Times goes to press too early to give you the latest results. If you ask for them, you certainly deserve those. So for the numbers game of Sunday, March 30th, in the midday drawing, the numbers were 2, 3, 6, 9. Again, yesterday's midday drawing, 2, 3, 6, 9. Last night's evening drawing of the numbers game for Sunday, March 30th, 8506. Again, last night's evening drawing of the numbers game, 8506. Mass cash numbers for Sunday, March 30th, 5, 10, 19, 27, and 30. And Lucky for Life rounds out our lottery results for Sunday, March 30th with 19, 20, 27, 36, and 39, with 6 the bonus number. Good luck to all who play. Remember us if you win. The headline above the fold in today's Cape Cod Times of March 31st, new artificial turf fields are faulty. Dennis Yarmouth Intermediate says $3 million is needed to fix the issue, by Susan Vaughn. 2 artificial turf athletic fields built as part of the new Dennis Yarmouth Intermediate Middle School have had problems almost from when the school opened in March of 2023, but really became apparent when it rained. The fields have been experiencing significant drainage issues, leading to erosion of the playing surface, damage to the surrounding track, and bubbling of the field, Superintendent of Schools Mark Smith said. After assessing the problem by several parties for more than a year, it was determined that the cause of the problems was a faulty design, Smith said. The original designer was Traverse Landscape Architects of Providence, Rhode Island. We tried to find other ways to resolve the problem, Smith said, but the district has decided to move forward with a new design by another company. The expected cost is around $3 million. Through the Braintree law firm Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane, the Dennis Yarmouth Regional School District Committee has filed a lawsuit against Traverse, according to the school. Neither the law firm or the company returned calls Friday about the lawsuit. The school committee on March 17th awarded the design contract to RAD Sports of Rockland as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder at a total project cost of $3,098,295. The company has excellent references and has a long history of installing turf, a March 21st press release from his office stated. The project will be initially funded from the remaining account balance in the intermediate middle school building project, as it remained significantly under budget, according to Smith. The 186,500 square foot school at 286 Station Ave in South Yarmouth is on land owned by the regional school district. The one school combined Mattochese Middle School in West Yarmouth and Nathaniel H. Wixon Innovation School in South Dennis. The school has 491 students enrolled in grades 4 and 5 for the 24-25 school year and 477 students in grades 6 and 7. The district is seeking restitution for the design failures that caused this issue in the first place, Smith said. The lawsuit against Traverse is seeking damages and to cover the cost of replacing the fields. We want the taxpayers to understand we're pursuing restitution vigorously, Smith said. He described how the artificial surface is supposed to move rain through a pad under the surface and into a sub-base material of crushed stone to big drains that are under the field. It was determined that the sub-base was causing the puddles and ponds on the fields, he said. Sometimes the field will start to float, Smith said. A cork filling in the artificial grass also pulls up and floats, requiring crews to rearrange the cork. There's also erosion and sinking in the corners of the fields, he said. The rebuilding is scheduled to begin May 15th and be completed by August 15th. The fields are lined for different sports, including lacrosse, football, soccer, and field hockey. They're also used by physical education classes and for recess, and by Dennis Yarmouth Regional High School next to the school on Station Avenue. Arrangements have been made for the school teams to play at other locations after the work starts, Smith said. Many community groups also use the field, so they've been notified they won't be available during the summer. We understand the critical role these fields play in both our athletic programs and community events, Smith said. We're committed to ensuring that the fields are properly remediated and ready for use by our students and the community as soon as possible. To facilitate the work, construction vehicles will be going to and from the site through side roads to minimize any impact on traffic, academic activities, and athletic events. The district will continue to provide updates on the timeline and construction progress, according to the release. Nantucket appeals South Coast Wind approval by Heather McCarran. Nantucket leaders on Thursday filed an appeal challenging the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management's approval of the South Coast Wind project. The appeal, which was filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, is not aimed at halting the project, but instead calls for the agency to redo some of the permitting deliberations, which Nantucket officials claim were deeply flawed. The goal of the appeal is to ensure that the permitting of the project complies with federal law, town officials said in a Q&A about their actions that was posted to the town's website Thursday. If South Coast Wind continued to move forward, town officials said they want the court to order BOEM to accurately assess the adverse impacts on Nantucket and mandate appropriate changes to the project, reflecting a realistic assessment, as well as minimizing or mitigating of those harms to the greatest extent possible. As part of that, the town's asking the Bureau to prohibit construction until the matter's resolved. South Coast didn't respond to a request for comment. South Coast Wind, formerly Mayflower Wind, is owned by Ocean Winds, a joint venture of the French utility company ENGIE and EDP Renewables, which has ties to Portugal's largest utility company and a Singaporean investment corporation. The company is proposing a 2,400-megawatt project spanning about 127,388 acres, approximately 20 miles southwest of Nantucket, 26 miles south of Martha's Vineyard. On January 17th, the federal agency approved South Coast's construction and operations plan, allowing up to 141 wind turbines, up to 5 offshore substation platforms, and up to 8 power transmission cables. Plans call for bringing the first 1,200 megawatts ashore at Brayton Point in Somerset. The remaining 1,200 megawatts planned for a later phase could also make landfall there, although Falmouth is under consideration as well. The Bureau's approval was unveiled just days before President Donald Trump took office and issued an executive order pausing further federal consideration of new and not yet permitted offshore wind projects. In their complaint, Nantucket officials argue that the federal agency failed to comply with the National Environmental Policy Act and the National Historic Preservation Act. Nantucket, Muskeget, and Tuckernuck Islands are collectively recognized as a National Historic Landmark. When the federal government approved the lease areas for offshore wind in the Atlantic a dozen years ago, it allowed communities to be misled into believing the turbines would be invisible, or barely visible, the Q&A says. The town contends that the Bureau did not fully evaluate the potential harmful effects of Nantucket, of up to 743 wind turbines, 3 times taller than the Statue of Liberty, associated with 9 wind farms, including South Coast. BOEM admits this volume of proposed turbines will cause Nantucket harm, but has required that South Coast Wind do virtually nothing about it, putting all risks on the community, town officials said. Nantucket further alleges that the federal agency failed fully to consider other possible problems, such as the turbine blade from the neighboring Vineyard Wind project that broke during the height of tourist season in 2024, washing tons of material onshore and making international news. Despite our repeated attempts to help BOEM and the developer find balance between the nation's renewable energy goals and the protection of what makes us unique, they've refused to work with us and to follow the law, said Nantucket Select Board Chairwoman Brooke Moore in a statement that was issued Thursday. We're taking action to hold them accountable. Our community should not bear the consequences of their poor planning. Select Board Vice Chairman Matt Fee says the town's appeal is not about protecting rich people's views. Our entire economy depends on heritage tourism. If people no longer want to come to Nantucket, that has a real impact on our small businesses and the people who operate them, he said. Nantucket leaders also worry about job loss, decline of property values, and harm to the fisheries, the marine habitats, and to the beaches. The town doesn't expect to stop the development. The court doesn't have the authority to do that. But it can require federal agencies to restart permitting review to correct legal errors and comply with federal law. Nantucket officials previously considered filing a similar appeal in response to the 800-megawatt Vineyard Wind project, which is constructing 62 turbines off the island's southwestern shore. But they held off after the company agreed to deal with the town's complaints. Resulting changes to the plans included eliminating the row of turbines originally planned closer to the island, then painting turbines a non-reflective color to reduce daytime visibility, installing a system to reduce nighttime lighting, and the Nantucket Offshore Wind Community Fund to support local historic preservation and environmental conservation projects. Nantucket officials point out they're not against renewable energy, but feel it shouldn't be viewed as a choice between clean energy on the one hand and preservation of culture and local economies on the other. We can and must develop clean energy in ways that don't destroy the characteristics and livelihoods of American communities, officials wrote. Also on the front page of today's Cape Cod Times dated March 31st, How Much Does Travel and Tourism Drive Economy? By Denise Coffey in Hyannis. When Kate Fox made her speech to 215 participants at the Travel and Tourism Forum on Wednesday, she gave kudos to Cape Cod Commercial Linen Service. The Hyannis-based company can process about 100,000 pounds of linen, including towel sheets and pillowcases, in one summer day. Fox is the executive director of the state's Office of Travel and Tourism. She was in town to give an update on tourism, but her point was to recognize all the businesses that support one of the state's most significant and impactful industries. In 2023, visitors spent $23.6 billion in Massachusetts, generating more than 154,000 jobs statewide and $2.3 billion in state and local taxes. Fox called the Cape a powerhouse for the industry. Big numbers. Paul Niedzwiecki, CEO of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, gave numbers that emphasize the importance of tourism to Cape Cod's overall economy. Direct visitor spending on the Cape in 2023 was $2.7 billion. More than 14,000 people were employed in tourist-related industries, and $163 million in state and local taxes were collected. Nearly 45% of restaurant revenues came from visitors, according to data from Zartico, a marketing technology company. Visitor spending accounted for 36% of retail revenues, 47% of money spent on local businesses. These are big numbers, he said. There are challenges ahead. Niedzwiecki linked 2025's lower than average July and August demand to declines in consumer confidence. While hotel occupancy numbers in 2024 remained steady, the average length of stay was down compared to 2023. There were declines in the short-term rental market as well, with 32% of vacation rental owners lowering their prices, he said. Niedzwiecki blamed inflation and decreases in disposable income for the decline. And Canadians, the top international visitors group to the Cape, have been looking elsewhere to vacation this summer. According to reporting by NBC, the marketing research firm Ledger found that 59% of Canadians surveyed said they were less likely to visit the U.S. in 2025. More than a third said they had canceled travel plans to the U.S. The declines were attributed to comments and tariffs that were levied on Canada by President Trump. We have to watch some of this play out before we know what's going on, Niedzwiecki said. Looking ahead, bills proposed in both the Massachusetts House and Senate would increase the amount that the state sets aside for travel and tourism. Niedzwiecki would like a reasonable increase. He said the state spends $10 million currently, but splits $6 million between 16 regional tourism councils. It's not enough, he said. He said the region needs to be more self-reliant, saying businesses can expect less state and federal money. Niedzwiecki filed a petition with Yarmouth on behalf of 12 hotels to establish a tourism destination marketing district. The district would be funded by a special assessment rate on the hotels in town. Customers would pay the assessment, and the revenue would be used to pay for tourism promotion. Dave O'Donnell, Vice President of Strategic Planning for the marketing organization Meet Boston, called tourism destination marketing districts a game changer. Meet Boston manages the money collected from Boston and Cambridge hotels in their marketing district. A self-imposed 1.5% assessment has raised their operating budget from $15 million to $30 million. A TDMD makes sense to allow us a sustainable source of revenue, Niedzwiecki said. That money stays here. Moving inside the paper as we keep it local, Cape Cod RTA bus damaged after a crash on Route 6. 3 people were taken to Cape Cod Hospital with non-life-threatening injuries after a black sedan crashed into a Regional Transit Authority bus, according to the Wellfleet Fire Department. The crash happened around 7:30 a.m. on March 27th on Route 6 and Nahant Bluff Road in Wellfleet and closed the road off for about 45 minutes, according to Joseph Capello, chief of Wellfleet's fire department. It's probably a total loss, said Kathy Jensen, deputy administrator at Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority. According to Jensen, the black sedan crossed over the lines on Route 6 and crashed into the bus. We get federal and state and town funding, said Jensen, when asked who pays for repairs and replacements. We're covered under our vehicle insurance policy, and our insurance company will work with the other operator's insurer to recoup damages. The bus is a dial-a-ride transportation, DART, bus, which is not a regular bus. There was only one passenger and driver on the bus at the time of the crash, according to Jensen. It's too soon to tell. We have a spare bus that will replace it on its route, but if we do need to replace it, then we probably wouldn't do that until we know the extent of it, said John Kennedy, general manager at the Regional Transit Authority, about damages that were caused to the bus and who'd be responsible to pay. The insurance company and mechanics that work with Regional Transit Authority are still evaluating the damages, according to Kennedy. Eastham Fire Department provided medical assistance at the scene, and the Wellfleet Police Department is investigating the cause of the crash. Moving to the Cape and Islands section as we keep it local again, Project Kicks Off at Marina by Heather McCarran. Bismore Park Marina in Hyannis is undergoing upgrades that will limit public access over the next few weeks, according to the town. The improvements, which started March 19th, are part of an ongoing maintenance and rehabilitation project aimed at enhancing the safety, functionality, and resiliency of the marina in Hyannis Inner Harbor. The town hired Coastal Marine Construction of Stoughton to carry out the work, which includes rehabbing the marina's bulkhead. the walkway paving, and waterline replacements, according to an advisory issued by the town. Work is planned both on land and in the water. Bismore Park Marina, a 1.69-acre public area between Ocean Street and the western bank of Hyannis Harbor, features lawn space, trees, Hyannis High Arts artist shanties, a tourist information center with public restrooms, the Barnstable Harbormaster Building, and 26 boat slips. The marina is not only a popular spot for tourists, but also serves as a recreational space for the town. And it's highlighted by the town as the primary offloading area for 75 offshore commercial fishing vessels. The town of Barnstable operates 4 public marinas, including Bismore Park Marina. According to the Hyannis Harbor Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Resilience Plan, which was prepared last year by Tetra Tech Inc., with input from Brown, Richardson & Rowe and Woods Hole Group, the park was initially reinforced with bulkheads in 1997, and renovation work around 2010 included raising the elevation of the Harbormaster Building to account for flooding in the park. Today, the park experiences frequent flooding during coastal storms and high tides, with floodwaters often reaching the opposite side of Ocean Street, the resilience plan states. During flooding, the town must switch off the power to the commercial fishing docks and the Harbormaster Building. Improvements are expected to last through at least April. The town advises visitors that some areas of the marina may temporarily be closed to the public while construction's underway, and it encourages them to call ahead for updates. The Harbormaster's office can be reached at 508-790-6273. Again, 508-790-6273. And a quick reminder, again, you can go to audiblelocalledger.org and catch up on any information you might have missed, like phone numbers, dates of funerals, or different websites that we might name. All of that can be caught up on our disability-compliant website, audiblelocalledger.org. Ducklings, daffodils, and a garter snake are signs of a Cape Cod spring. By Steve Heslip. He's the photographer for the Cape Cod Times. He writes interesting little articles about things that don't really always have to do with photography. Spring is a slow starter on Cape Cod. Our peninsula, sticking out into cold Atlantic waters, gets mist and rain, while mainlanders receive the tease of sunshine and warming temperatures. A common theme heard these last days of March: spring arrives about a week before summer. No matter the weather, spring is still the season of firsts. Snowbirds migrate north from the south on wing and in automobiles. Shuttered seasonal businesses open their curtains alongside Mother Nature, bringing color back to gray days. In the photo department, there's a long BOLO, that means be on the lookout, spring to-do list. The bird world has early arriving ospreys and piping plovers by the end of March, along with frisky tom turkeys strutting up and down back roads looking for love, sometimes in the wrong places. Out on the water, early arriving endangered right whales put on a feeding show just offshore for beachgoers, assisted by binoculars. Herring begin their journeys to freshwater ponds to spawn, much to the delight of their nemesis, the aptly named herring gulls. Easiest way to see if the fish are running? Just look for gulls. There are interesting spring photos to be had at every turn, but I keep an eye out no further than my front steps. The stoop, as we call it, faces due south, and it's made of bricks. As the days warm the masonry, the nearby garden bed gets a solar jump start. It's the first place crocus, daffodils, and iris bloom. But the marquee spring event for me is the first sighting of our resident garter snakes. Much to the chagrin of some family members, these innocent reptiles slither out from a narrow opening between the foundation and steps. On warming spring days, they have several times been found sunning, curled up atop my wife's shoes. They are extremely timid, and they always gracefully exit back to their hiding spot at the very slightest movements that are nearby. My preaching about the garter snakes being a sign of a healthy ecosystem has helped mediate a family truce, and we now coexist peacefully. A pair of them came out of hibernation last week. By the time I could get a camera out, I think there might have been some hanky-panky going on. The shy one disappeared before I could get a photo, but its partner provided a brief portrait session. And spring has indeed arrived. And there is a photo of a little garter snake that he took, slithering through a path of garden that is warmed in the afternoon sun, taking in the scenery of a new season after winter hibernation. And our next story, Yarmouth lobsterman has sold from home since 1975, now ordered to stop by Susan Vaughn. John Tolley has been selling fresh lobsters from his home in West Yarmouth since 1975, and his father did the same for nearly 30 years before that from the same house. Now he's been told to stop. I'm 66. I've been a fisherman my whole life, Tolley says. Tolley is how he spells his name. He fishes out of Sassuat Harbor in Dennis. Everyone knows I sell lobsters, he said. Yarmouth Building Commissioner Mark Grills has ordered Tolley to stop selling his lobsters from his home at 23 Iroquois Boulevard in West Yarmouth because retail sales in a residential zone aren't allowed under zoning regulations. I have to follow the regulations, he said Wednesday. The town received a complaint about Tolley's sales from a West Yarmouth resident, Grills said. Tolley is seeking to overturn Grills' order and will ask the Zoning Board of Appeals on April 10th to allow him to continue selling lobsters from his home. The town has tried to say that no one has sold lobsters in the history of the town, Tolley said, and recalled his father and his grandfather who sold fish from his home in Yarmouth Port from 1930 to 1972. It's not right, Tolley said. Tolley said he was told at a previous zoning board meeting that his business from his home was grandfathered in. He has lobster pots in his yard, but Tolley said neighbors haven't complained. He has a large customer following, based on many photos on his website. He said he has sold his lobsters to local police, town staff, and thousands of others, and received no complaints, except for one in the early 1990s about a sign in front of his house. He now puts out a temporary sign for 2 hours on Route 28. The location of temporary signs must be approved by the building commissioner according to the regulations, and a permit and fee are required. Grills said Tolley is not seeking release from the sign regulations. And we'll close with the high school roundup. DY Baseball with a statement win in their season opener by Courtney Jacobs. A year removed from Division IV's round of 8, the Dennis Yarmouth baseball team looks like they can go further this season. They started their season with a 9-1 win over a Tantasqua regional team that went to the Division III state semifinals last season. In softball, it was Wareham 20, Nauset 3. The Warriors, who are 0-2, dropped their second straight game to start the season. In boys lacrosse, it was Scituate 8, Sandwich 6, Nantucket 12, Whitman Handsome 0, Milford 8, Martha's Vineyard 6. And in girls lacrosse, it was Martha's Vineyard 12, Cardinal Spellman 4. And with that, we've come to the end of our reading of today's Cape Cod Times, dated Monday, March 31st of 2025. This is your reader, Eric, saying be well, be safe, look after each other. Remember our veterans, especially those we've lost recently. Bye for now.